Hello, and welcome to another video. This one's out of the usual flow because I want to spotlight something, mainly player behavior in the community for PvP. Obviously, PvE has also got its own toxic sector. It's not just PvP, but either way, I mean, this isn't really bad or really crazy. It's just, you know, ego. This is really all that is. It's not anything crazy. I know that there's like some really crazy stuff that does happen behind the scenes, but for the most part this is pretty tame. But I wanted to showcase this because this was a very fun match. It is pretty competitive and relatively balanced for me, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Unfortunately, the rest of our team didn't quite enjoy it, so there was a point where somebody starts typing and we start playing way too defensively because they're sitting there doing no damage and typing. Their APM drops all the way down to 28, and then some engagements near the end it was like in the 10s, which is terrible. So they're quite literally halfway not playing. Go through and I do all this work and try to create enough pressure and kill the healers, take the damage from the ranged DPS so they're not, you know, having an overwhelming force with the PT and the tank that are kind of like attacking our backline. Kind of sucks for me, right? Like, I'm doing all this for nothing, and I felt like this match was pretty fun and played decently enough, but I feel robbed, and I feel rightfully so that I should feel that way, and I think my reaction to this is pretty just in general, but obviously you guys can be the judge of that. I don't really mind either way. It does suck to see a match like this. It's just ruined because people want to ego each other. Anyway, getting into this, this kind of behavior when having to face other pre-mades is just lame. To put this short, for whatever reason, it's been 2 games this Sage has been complaining while grouped. Now he chooses a fight with temps in this match when it's relatively balanced and enjoyable. Because of this, the match goes downhill because our team starts to turtle and move back because they'd rather protect them instead of play correctly. Spending so much time to type is a massive DPS loss, so much so that this player has 28 APM overall for the whole match. Even clickers can do more than that. So really, what's there to gain? Temps being mad at you changes literally nothing for anyone, including them. But ruining a balanced semi-competitive match where you have a mild inconvenience with guard is still at best a skill issue or flat out malicious because you don't get to get what you want. This sort of egotistical behavior and drama between guilds and players is one thing. I know I have done plenty of videos before on drama things related, but every single time I am trying to spotlight something important. This stuff is what ruins competitive spirit and makes things spiteful instead of enjoyable. At the end of the day, nobody cares about this random match, just play. If there was ranked, I would understand a bit better, but there's not. I miss the days where we can just fight instead of just hide and play like we only have one life. It's sickening to see so much range. If you group and rage quit, if you group and constantly complain because someone is hitting you, maybe don't group. It's actually that simple. It's oftentimes, if nobody knows you and there's someone else known on your team, they'll take all the heat while you get to do your own thing. You're only painting a bigger target on yourself with nothing to gain and ruining what could be a fun match against someone you seemingly dislike. Anyway, moving on from that, as I don't want to give it any more attention, this match was, yeah, again, I found it pretty enjoyable, and we start pushing them back here, and we actually end up wiping them. Unfortunately, our team is a little bit turtled because the Sage is just talking non-stop. The other Sage is actually pumping with me, which is great. I think here I'm doing like 22k or something like that. And the other Sage is like doing like, I want to say like 18, 19 or something like that. So like we're actually pushing them back effectively. We're doing a lot of damage and getting a lot of unguarded burst, and he's getting good pressure. But obviously he's having to peel back too at the same time because of the APPT. But regardless, we're making room, we're making headway, we're pushing them back. This is what I enjoy. Like, we're pushing back and forth. Like, they pushed us back with all their openers and whatnot. Their opener was way better than ours. in terms of just raw damage output, and then we kind of like bounce back, and vice versa. But unfortunately, our team decides to focus a little bit more on trying to protect that person, and on top of that, just not really fight back, if that makes sense. They also end up getting a second tank to come fight with them, which definitely helps them. Regardless, I thought this, again, interesting match, but yeah, it's a shame it goes that way. Recently, I've been playing a lot of Virulence, and I've been trying like high alacrity and different tacticals, like PvP parsing tacticals, and then like the dot tactical, and increase the damage of your toxic blast. Then gives you a dot and snipe, and then also airborne agents, which is the AOE weakening blast spread, which is really cool. It's really hard to get it to work, however, so I don't really like it. I've tried a lot of that, and yeah, it's interesting to say the least. I've had a lot of 20k Virulence games, and for the most part I would say it's kind of pointless to run the airborne agents because you don't actually get any value out of it most of the time, unless people are like stacked and you can't kill them and you're like the only DPS, because then you can actually get some snipes off. And I would also recommend it with high alacrity because you're able to get 3 snipes off per pool relatively effectively without having to like lose any, like, it's not really APM, but lose any rotational flow, if that makes sense. Because if you're running low alacrity, you're gonna lose out on that. But obviously low alacrity is also obviously fine because then your dots are hitting harder. And then if you're running accuracy, it's kind of like a throw in general, because like the accuracy is just not going to do anything. I've tried it multiple times, it just doesn't do anything. Lowers your damage pretty much for nothing. It does increase your single target damage if you're like tunneling with somebody, but chances are people are just going to run away from you because you do too much damage to them, and they're not going to try to contest you because you just do too much damage, which definitely sucks. But outside of that, I think high alacrity Virulence definitely viable. It's very enjoyable. I think I also played some high alacrity Deception again. That was very enjoyable too. But it fixed my gear, and I was playing some Rage Jug. Tried to play some Vengeance. I got a bunch of single target games. It was really boring. And then I played one Rage game, and I played against a double tank, and then they had one person leave, and they had a triple tank, and they had 2 healers, and we had 2 healers on our team, and then we had 1 tank. It was an interesting match. I wouldn't say it was terrible, but it was kind of annoying to have to deal with 2 APPTs with guard running me down. Obviously, still, they didn't do that much damage, but regardless, it was a pain. And needless to say, I don't want to play Rage Juggernaut Instat, so I went AP, hoping that I would get into a pre-made match like this one. So I was excited to have this match, and, you know, obviously that's why I felt robbed. It's like, you know, I only have so much time to play per day, and having this happen is just kind of like a slap in the face. Obviously here I'm just kind of like screwed because these guys are just like yapping to each other. I'm overextended, but at this point I don't really care. At least the telekinetic stage gets get some damage off, but for the most part, like, our team is way too overcommitted for this random in the back. Like, it just makes no sense. Obviously I say something here because like we can actually push them back, but our team is just refusing to actually play. There's also another thing that I've been trying. Going to be looking at Mandalorian Armaments again, mostly just because our stats are like actually pretty good now. Very interesting thing that I want to try, but unfortunately I need a match where I actually can get value out of it without dying immediately. Also don't understand why the random person is... I assume he's calling me a pre-made lover, but he could be saying like somebody else too at the same time. I have no clue. Like, I literally solo queue and try to snipe pre-mades. I literally look for healers and I try to snipe them because I want something to actually hit for at least some sort of amount of time, instead of just doing a burst rotation and they're dead. I don't think that's a crime, obviously, and then at the same time, you know, doesn't mean that I'm in a group. because most of the time I am solo queued. But when I do group, it's like, you know, I want to play the other groups. Unfortunately, not all of the other groups want to play me, which sucks. Like, it really does suck, but at the same time, you know, it's just the way of the game. Like, sometimes you just don't want to play against PT. That's fine. I play plenty of other specs too, and then, you know, sometimes it's like, okay, the group's just better, so I just don't want to deal with that. It makes sense. I'm not faulting anybody for it, but at the same time, it's like, you know, there's plenty of people out there that actually do that. And there's one group that constantly likes to play 4 DPS and to play Sorix a lot. If they picked up a healer and they picked up a tank, excuse me, the matches would be a lot more enjoyable and there would be a lot more fun games that I would have to post. But unfortunately, because they like to play 4 DPS nowadays, which intentionally just ruins solo queue, which I like to solo queue a lot, and I try to solo queue and I have to deal with that. I have to take like 10 mil plus. You've already seen a video like that already, where I take like 16 mil or something, or 14 mil or something like that, and yeah, they just don't tab off me ever. That's just the normal gameplay for a solo queue game for me. When I try to play Jug, I have to deal with that, and it's like, okay, yeah, obviously you guys are pre-made, that's cool, because you get a tank and healer, so it could be a little bit more balanced, so I could have a tank and healer on my team, right? Nope. And then if you do pre-mate against them, obviously you get a 4-man or you get a tank and healer and just 1 DPS. Then it's like, okay, obviously you have the tank and heal advantage over them, but at the same time they have more damage. Like, I don't know how to describe it to people, but 4 DPS is just abusive, it's manipulative. It's not something that should probably happen. 2 DPS should really be the limit, and if you want a 3rd player, you should have to get a tank and healer, and if you want a 4th player, you should have a tank and healer. I think that's just the way the game should be. Support roles are incredibly important, and having 4 DPS, which is the amount of DPS that you would have if you had a balanced 8v8, is strong, like, needless to say. But the other issue is that most of the time when you're playing 4 DPS, you're going against pugs more than you are against other groups, because you're not getting a pug healers, you're not getting pug tanks, because you're usually not playing. So you're at a loss there, but you're also, like, if you're playing 4 DPS, you're at a gain there, because that means that you can pretty much guarantee roll over the enemy team, because they're probably all going to be DPS. It's probably going to be the supports, and they're probably all going to be solo queued. Anyway, that's enough about that, but I really despise that, and, you know, that's obviously an issue, but also at the same time, you know, pre-mates just not want to fight each other. A simple solution for all that really is to just remove the ability in general to queue for a match, and whether you take it or not, it starts anyway. Just make it so there is a ready check for the match. So instead of just starting the match immediately, so let's say there is a tank heal group, or there's just a tank and healer that's in queue and they're AFK and they're not taking the pop, and then there's a pre-made ready to go that they're looking to play against other pre-mades, and they get a pop, they take the pop, and the other teams like healer and tank are just like some random people, and they just don't take the pop, or they're, you know, they're decent, they just obviously accidentally don't take the pop, or they end up getting a group invite and they're like, oh, let me leave the queue, and they already got a pop, but they'll decline. You know, there's a whole bunch of innocent interactions here that could happen that will just cause the match to be unbalanced. And then there's also intentional interactions too, which sucks. Just have the match not start. Anyway, later.